The lemonade stand raises its price. The lemons did not become gold. The cups did not become diamonds. But somehow, yesterday's dollar buys less today. Now imagine that happening to everything. Your groceries, your rent, your gasoline, your morning coffee. The dollar in your wallet stays the same. The world around it gets more expensive. Today, we are going to explain inflation with one lemonade stand. Then we are going to follow the money. Because when prices rise, someone loses purchasing power. And someone else may benefit. Stay to the end because the biggest borrower in the story is not standing behind the lemonade stand. Imagine a kid named Frank. Frank runs a lemonade stand. One cup costs $1. Frank sells 100 cups. He collects $100. The neighborhood is happy. The lemonade tastes the same. The cups look the same. The dollar is still the dollar. Then something changes. Frank wants to expand. He buys more lemons. He buys more cups. He buys a bigger table. He needs more money. So Frank borrows $100. Now Frank owes $100. He promises to repay it later. The lender agrees. Everyone goes home. Nothing seems strange. But the next summer something happens. The price of lemons rises. The price of cups rises. The price of the table rises. Frank's costs increase. So Frank raises the lemonade price. One cup now costs $2. The lemonade did not double in size. The cup did not become twice as large. The dollar simply buys less stuff. That is inflation. The general price level is rising. And the purchasing power of money is falling. Now Frank has a problem. He borrowed $100. The debt is still $100. But the world has changed. The lender wants the same number. $100. The borrower gets to repay with dollars that buy less. That difference matters. Imagine the lender gave Frank $100 when $1 could buy one lemonade. Now Frank repays $100 when $1 buys half a lemonade. The number stayed the same. The purchasing power did not. This is why inflation creates winners and losers. Now Frank is not the only borrower. His neighbor Maria borrowed money too. She bought a house. Her mortgage has a fixed payment. The contract says she owes a specific amount each month. If prices and wages rise over time, Maria's payment may become smaller relative to her income. Her mortgage bill stays fixed. Her paycheck may eventually grow. Her groceries do not stay fixed. Her rent does not stay fixed. The price of almost everything around her can change. But the debt contract can remain frozen. That is the strange advantage of fixed debt during inflation. The borrower owes yesterday's dollars. They repay with tomorrow's dollars. But now meet the biggest borrower in the neighborhood. The government. The government borrows money through bonds. Investors lend money. The government promises to repay. The contract specifies payments. The government receives dollars today. It repays dollars later. If inflation rises, those future dollars can buy less. The debt does not magically disappear. The government still owes the amount promised. But the real purchasing power of those payments can change. This is why inflation can quietly reduce the burden of existing debt. Not just for households. Not just for businesses. For governments too. Now return to Frank's lemonade stand. Frank has $100 in cash. He keeps it in a jar. He feels safe. The jar does not change. The number stays 100. But the lemonade price rises. One cup costs $2. Frank's $100 now buys 50 cups. Before inflation, it bought 100. Frank did not lose $1 from the jar. He lost purchasing power. That is the part people feel. Inflation does not always steal the number. It can shrink what the number can buy. Now imagine Maria has a savings account. She has $10,000. She earns interest. But prices rise faster than her savings grow. Her account balance increases. Her purchasing power can still fall. Maria looks at the statement. The number is bigger. Her financial life may not be. This is why savers can feel inflation differently. Cash is useful. Cash is stable in number. But cash is not guaranteed to remain stable in purchasing power. Now imagine Frank's friend David. David owes $100. His debt has a fixed interest rate. Prices rise. His wages eventually rise too. His debt payment stays mostly the same. The debt does not become free. Interest still exists. The contract still exists. But inflation can make the old debt easier to carry in real terms. David is holding the debt. Maria is holding the cash. The same inflation rate affects them differently. That is the strange part. Inflation is not one bill. It is a force moving through every balance sheet. Now the lemonade stand gets crowded. Frank raises his prices. His supplier raises prices. The delivery driver raises prices. The landlord raises rent. Workers ask for higher wages. Everyone is adjusting. The lemonade stand is part of a giant chain. One price changes. Another price responds. Then another. Inflation can spread through the economy like a series of price tags being rewritten. Now notice the difference between one expensive lemonade and broad inflation. If Frank alone raises his price, that is not necessarily inflation. Maybe Frank's lemons became expensive. Maybe his stand is closer to the beach. Maybe his lemonade suddenly tastes incredible. Inflation is broader. It is when prices across the economy rise persistently. The dollar's purchasing power falls. And people start changing behavior. They buy sooner. They negotiate wages. They adjust contracts. They change investments. The entire neighborhood begins reacting. Now the savers face another problem. Maria keeps money in cash. She wants safety. But inflation is slowly changing the value of that cash. She cannot see the loss on the dollar bill. The bill still says $1. She cannot feel the purchasing power disappearing. But the grocery store can. The gas station can. The landlord can. The lemonade stand can. The dollar looks exactly the same. The price tags do not. Now imagine Maria's retirement. She saves for 30 years. She carefully builds a nest egg. But she needs that money to buy things decades from now. The future prices may be much higher. That means Maria is not just saving dollars. She is trying to save purchasing power. Those are not always the same thing. This is why inflation is so dangerous for long-term planning. $1 today and $1 decades from now have different buying power. Time changes the price of the lemonade. Now return to the government. The government has enormous debts. The exact size changes constantly. But the principle remains. If a government owes fixed nominal debt, inflation can reduce the real value of those future payments. That does not mean inflation is a free lunch. It creates other costs. Consumers face higher prices. Savers can lose purchasing power. Businesses struggle to plan. Workers may fall behind if wages do not keep up. People living on fixed incomes can be especially vulnerable. Inflation can redistribute purchasing power. And that redistribution is rarely equal. Now imagine the lemonade stand owner has debt. The lemonade stand also owns the table. The table rises in replacement cost. The stand's revenue rises because lemonade costs more. The debt remains based on the original contract. Frank may find the debt easier to manage. But the customer sees something different. The customer pays more for lemonade. The worker pays more for lunch. The saver gets less from cash. The debtor may feel relief. One person's cost is another person's relative advantage. That is why inflation creates so much confusion. Everyone experiences the same rising prices. They do not experience the same financial consequences. Now convert the lesson into ordinary life. Imagine your paycheck rises 5%. That sounds good. Then groceries rise 6%. Rent rises 7%. Insurance rises 8%. Your paycheck went up. Your purchasing power may not have. The number on your paycheck increased. The lemonade got more expensive faster. That is the problem. Inflation can make people feel richer while making them poorer in real terms. The number goes up. The buying power goes down. Now imagine a retiree with fixed income. The payment arrives every month. The payment is predictable. The grocery store is not. The rent is not. The pharmacy is not. The electricity bill is not. The retiree's income stays stable. The world around it changes. Inflation becomes a silent reduction in purchasing power. No letter arrives saying, "Your money is now worth less." The price tags deliver the message instead. Now imagine the government borrower. It receives money today, promises money tomorrow. Inflation changes the value of tomorrow's money. The government still has obligations. But the real burden of fixed nominal debt can decline. This is why inflation is sometimes described as a hidden transfer. The transfer is not always obvious. Nobody walks into your house and removes $100. The dollar simply buys fewer things. The debt contract remains. The price tags move. And the difference appears in purchasing power. Now remember the lemonade stand. Frank borrowed $100. Maria saved $100. Both started with the same amount. Inflation arrives. Frank owes the 100. Maria owns the 100. The lender gave up purchasing power. Frank repays with money that may buy less. Maria holds money that may buy less. Same inflation. Different positions. Now the lesson becomes darker. Inflation rewards some financial structures, punishes others. People holding fixed-rate debt may benefit relative to people holding cash. People with assets that rise with prices may fare differently from people with fixed incomes. People whose wages adjust quickly may fare differently from those whose wages lag. And the government, as one of the world's largest borrowers, is part of that system. But nobody gets a free pass. The government still faces higher costs. Taxpayers still face higher prices. Bond investors still demand compensation. Inflation can create economic damage even when it reduces the real burden of old debt. The lemonade stand cannot escape the price storm. Neither can the neighborhood. So what is inflation really? It is not simply one lemonade becoming expensive. It is the purchasing power of money changing across the economy. The dollar remains a dollar. But the lemonade stand keeps changing its price. The saver watches the jar. The debtor watches the loan. The government watches the debt. And everyone watches the price tags. The strangest part is that inflation can make debt look smaller without making anyone feel richer. The borrower may benefit. The lender may lose purchasing power. The saver may struggle. The government may see its old debts become easier to carry in real terms. But the public still pays higher prices. That is the final twist. Inflation does not need to steal your dollar. It only needs to make your dollar buy less lemonade. And once you understand that, you understand why the biggest question is never how many dollars you have. It is how much those dollars can actually buy. Because the price of lemonade can change overnight. The debt contract can stay frozen for decades. And somewhere in between those two numbers, someone is always paying the difference.